story of Wade Stephen Wilson is not a Hollywood script, but rather a painful chapter in real criminal chronicles. Marked by a cruel irony, the coincidence of his name with that of a popular fictional character. Far from the movie screens, this Wade Wilson, a 30-year-old man, is imprisoned on Florida's death row, a grim shadow of justice that reflects the unspeakable brutality of his crimes committed in October 2019. His life is a disturbing testament to system failure and the human capacity for depravity. Born on May 20, 1994, Wade Wilson's trajectory was paved by a childhood and youth marked by profound dysfunctions. Unlike the superhero who shares his name, he was not raised in secret laboratories, but rather in a family environment that, according to testimonies at trial, lacked adequate stability and support. Reports indicate that Wilson faced undiagnosed or inadequately treated mental health problems from an early age. The lack of professional intervention during this formative period is a crucial point, as personality disorders and psychological conditions can exponentially worsen without the necessary follow-up, and this absence of structure and care opened the doors to self-destruction. His path was quickly diverted by substance abuse, and drug addiction became a downward spiral, eroding his capacity for discernment, undermining his responsibility, and distorting his perception of reality. Some defense witnesses tried to argue that Wilson's profound addiction led him to a state of despair and irrationality, but the prosecution countered that, even under the influence of substances, he maintained the ability to plan and execute actions like these. This distinction is vital in criminal law. Addiction can explain, but rarely excuse, acts of such violence if the basic capacity for discernment was not completely annihilated. Wade Wilson's life reached its point of no return on the night of October 7, 2019, in Cape Coral, Florida. On that fateful night, Wilson transformed from a troubled individual into a relentless predator, indiscriminately taking the lives of two women with a savagery that shocked even the most experienced investigators. The victims, Kristine Melton, 35, and Diane Ruiz, 43, were tragically connected by a cruel fate and by the man who sealed it. The first attack occurred after Wilson met Kristine Melton at a local bar. They left the establishment together and went to her home, where the situation turned into a nightmare. At some point in the early morning, while Kristine slept peacefully in her bed, Wilson attacked her. The method, strangulation, reveals a calculating coldness and a disturbing intimacy. In the act of taking a life, after the murder, Wilson demonstrated clear presence of mind by committing a robbery, taking Melton's car with him. This detail was crucial for the police, as the vehicle would become a central piece in Wilson's identification and capture. The savagery, however, did not stop, and shortly after murdering Kristine and stealing her car, Wilson spotted Diane Ruiz walking alone on the street. In an act of pure predation, he approached her with Melton's car, perhaps asking for directions or offering a ride. When Ruiz tried to get out of the vehicle, Wilson delivered a brutal attack. He beat and strangled her before throwing her out of the car. The scene became even more macabre when Wilson, demonstrating sadistic cruelty, repeatedly ran over Diane Ruiz's body with the vehicle. The prosecution's testimony, describing Diane's remains as looking like spaghetti, left an indelible mark on the minds of the jury and those present in the courtroom, underlining the heinous extent of the violence. These crimes, committed in quick succession and without any apparent motive beyond violent impulsivity, revealed Wilson's complete absence of empathy and his ability to commit acts of extreme brutality without hesitation. Just a moment to ask, you too like and subscribe to the channel to help us reach more people. The Cape Coral police acted quickly and efficiently. Kristine Melton's car, a key element, was tracked, and forensic evidence collected at the crime scenes began to point to Wade Wilson. His arrest relieved the terror that hung over the community. The evidence gathered by the prosecution was overwhelming, and in addition to forensic evidence, DNA, fingerprints, vehicle tracks, the testimony of Wilson's biological father, Stephen Testasica, was devastating. In phone calls, Wilson reportedly detailed the murders to his father, describing the acts with shocking coldness. The confession to such a close family member which was bravely brought to court, undermined any attempt by the defense to claim lack of knowledge or participation. Wilson's father's testimony in court was a moment of great emotional impact, where he expressed the pain of having to testify against his own son, but felt it was his moral duty to seek justice for the victims. This family cooperation with the prosecution is rare in murder cases and further solidified the case against Wilson. Wade Wilson's trial was an agonizing spectacle of justice, spanning weeks in June 2024. The prosecution, led by experienced prosecutors, presented a detailed and graphic narrative of the crimes, using crime scene photos, testimonies from pathologists, and forensic experts. In addition to the father's confession, they sought to paint a picture of a cold, calculating killer whose acts were deliberate and brutally executed. Wilson's defense, in turn, focused on humanizing the defendant, exploring his life story. They called witnesses to testify about Wilson's problematic childhood, his methamphetamine addiction, and his mental health problems in an attempt to mitigate his guilt, and argued that Wilson acted under the influence of drugs and a disturbed mind, hoping the jury would consider a sentence of life imprisonment without possibility of parole. The effort was to create reasonable doubt about his full mental capacity at the time of the crimes. However, the prosecution vigorously refuted these arguments, highlighting that Wilson was able to steal a car, hide evidence, and plan the second victim, which suggested a degree of cognition and intent. The prosecution argued that, even with problems, he knew perfectly well what he was doing. The jury, composed of community citizens, heard all arguments and evidence, and the final decision came in June 2024, when they found Wade Wilson guilty of both counts of first-degree murder, as well as other related charges. This conviction paved the way for the darkest phase of the trial, the deliberation on capital punishment. The jury, after weighing the gravity of the crimes and the mitigating and aggravating factors, unanimously recommended the death penalty for both murders. The unanimity of the jury is an important requirement in many states for the imposition of capital punishment. The formal conviction and imposition of the death penalty occurred on August 27, 2024, and the atmosphere in the courtroom was tense and emotionally charged. The victims' families were present, awaiting the outcome with a mix of anxiety and hope for justice. The judge, in delivering the sentence, did not mince words, describing Wilson's crimes as heinous, atrocious, and cruel, terms that resonate with the barbarity of the acts committed and are often used in death penalty sentences to justify the severity of the punishment. Wade Wilson remained impassive, showing no emotion, tears, or visible remorse as his death sentence was read aloud. His apparent coldness was a shock to many present, reinforcing the perception of his lack of empathy. With this sentence, Wilson was sent to Florida's death row, a section of the state prison where inmates await their execution. The process that follows is long and tortuous, governed by an intricate system of appeals that can last for decades. The average time an inmate spends on death row in Florida is more than 15 years, but many spend 20, 30 years or more. The execution date is scheduled only after all legal remedies have been exhausted, and even then, the governor has the power to grant clemency or suspend an execution. For the victims' families, this prolonged wait means that complete closure is never truly achieved, as the legal process continues to drag on. The bizarre coincidence of the name Wade Wilson with the popular Marvel character catapulted the criminal to a strange notoriety, leading him to be nicknamed Deadpool Killer by the media and on social media. This association, though superficial, had strange repercussions. The most disturbing revelation was that, even after his arrest and the publicity of his heinous crimes, Wade Wilson received hundreds of letters and photos from women while in prison. Prison authorities were forced to block some of this correspondence for being deemed inappropriate. This phenomenon, though rare, is a disturbing example of hybristophilia, the attraction to individuals who have committed violent crimes. It highlights a troubling distortion in public perception, where notoriety, even if infamous, can be confused with fascination. The story of Wade Wilson, the real killer, became a somber reminder of how the line between fiction and reality can be blurred in the minds of some. The saga of Wade Stephen Wilson is, ultimately, a tragic and complex tale that goes far beyond a simple coincidence of names. It is a mirror of the complexities of the human mind, the failures of support systems, the profound pain of victims and their families, and the intricate and lengthy pursuit of justice within a legal system the name Wade Wilson has become, for many a vivid reminder of the brutal reality that can hide behind normalcy. If you found this report clarifying and informative, please leave your like to help us continue bringing quality content. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss our next analyses, and activate the bell to receive all notifications. Share this video with anyone who might be interested in this complex story. See you in the next video.